Hola, and welcome back to the Life Podcast, where we explore what it means to truly live well. I'm your host, Dr. C. There's a feeling that's as common as it is quiet, a gentle ache that you can find in a crowded room or in the stillness of your own home. It's loneliness. And for too long, we've treated it as a personal flaw, something to be ashamed of. But what if? What if I told you that loneliness is actually a biological signal, just like hunger or thirst? Researchers in this field describe it as a survival signal, your body's way of telling you that a basic human need is not being met. Today, we're talking about social and emotional wellness. We're going to pull back the curtain on the science of connection and reframe loneliness not as a weakness, right? But as a powerful call to action for one of the most important parts of our health. So let's start by learning. To build a foundation, it's important to define what loneliness actually is. From a scientific point of view, loneliness is defined as the feeling of being socially isolated. The most important word there is feeling. It's your own personal experience. It's the painful feeling that comes from a gap between the social connections you want and the social connections you have. This is very different from the state of being alone, which we call solitude. Research shows that being alone and feeling lonely are only slightly related. Many of us love our solitude. I love my solitude. It can help us recharge and be creative. Loneliness, on the other hand, is the pain of feeling disconnected, whether you're by yourself or in a room full of people. The difference is so important. It's not about being physically alone. It's about that internal feeling. So what are the most common signs when that feeling becomes constant? What is actually happening in our bodies? This is where the science gets really interesting. When loneliness becomes a long-term issue, it sets off a chain of reaction of physical effects in your body. It's not just in your head, it's in your cells. A major review of many studies by Dr. Julian Holt-Lunstad and her team found that a lack of social connection increases health risk as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And it's twice as harmful to our health as obesity. Basically, your brain sees long-term loneliness as a threat. This turns on a long-lasting fight or flight response, flooding your brain with the stress hormone cortisol. This leads to ongoing inflammation, which is a known trigger for many problems like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and autoimmune disorder. It also weakens our immune system, messes with our sleep quality, and has even been shown to change the way our genes work. On top of that, studies consistently link chronic loneliness to a faster decline in memory and thinking skills, and a much higher risk for developing dementia and Alzheimer's disease. A powerful reminder that we are biologically built for connection. And it really changes the view of connection from a nice to have to a must have for our health. This brings us to the biggest misunderstanding people have about loneliness. It's not the number of friends you have. So many people think if I only knew more people, I wouldn't be lonely. But all the research shows that it's about the quality of connection. It's about having at least 1 to 2 people in your life that you can be vulnerable with, who you feel truly see you. You can have hundreds of acquaintances and still feel deeply lonely. I've been there, in a room full of people and completely lonely. This leads to a key point about how loneliness can be a cycle that feeds itself. When our brain is in that constant self-protective state, it becomes extra sensitive to any sign of social rejection. We start to expect people to turn us away. We misread neutral signs, like someone's not smiling at us, as proof that we're not wanted here. This defensiveness can ironically make us seem cold or distant, which can lead to the very rejection we fear. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a protective instinct that's working too hard without you realizing it. See, it creates a feedback loop that can be very hard to break without understanding what's happening in the brain. So let's move into inspiring ourselves. Understanding that brain feedback loop is a game changer. It takes away so much of that self-blame. I want to share a story about someone I'll call Sarah, which really shows how understanding this idea can make a huge difference. Sarah moved to a new city for a great job, but was incredibly lonely. She was warm, smart person, but she was stuck in that feedback loop. Her core belief was everybody here has their friends, there's no room for me. The challenge was that her brain was always looking for proof that the belief was true. If coworkers went to lunch without her, it wasn't just a mistake. It was proof that she was exclusively being neglected. She felt this deep ache of being alone. The action she took wasn't to immediately go to a big party. So instead, the very next step was all about her mindset. So she worked with her therapist about challenging her core belief, right? Her first task was to become a data scientist of her own life. I asked her, how did that, what did she do? And she said tiny, low pressure interactions with the only goal of gathering data to test her theory was really what she was working on. So she would go to the local coffee shop, and instead of just ordering, she would make a point to ask the barista then how his day was going. That was it. The goal wasn't to make a new best friend. It was just to see what would happen. The result was life-changing, but in a very quiet way. Ben smiled and said his day was great and asked about hers. It was a simple, pleasant 2-minute chat. But for Sarah's brain, it was a powerful piece of proof against her negative belief. It was a new data point that said connection is possible. The world is not entirely scary. Over the next few weeks, she did this at the dog park, at the library, at work. These micro moments of positive connection started to calm her down and understand that there is no threat. Made her feel safe. And from that place of safety, she eventually felt brave enough to say yes when a coworker invited her for coffee. That small change in her thinking was the key that unlocked everything else. Sarah's story makes the science so real and hopeful. Before we move on to how you can use these strategies in your life, let's just take a pause and hold on to the key takeaways. First, remember that loneliness is a biological signal, not a character flaw. It's your body asking for a basic need to be met. Second, its impact on our health is real and serious, similar to well-known risks like smoking, right? We know that loneliness could impact our overall wellness. And third, the solution isn't always big social circles, but the quality and depth of our connections. This can be heavy information to take in. So before we continue, let's take a and welcome back. We're talking about the science of connection. Now we're moving into our flourish section, where we get into the how-to. For those of you who are inspired by Sarah's story and ready to take action, the first, smallest, most practical step you can take this week is about creating chances for social contact in a low-pressure way. So I love the idea, right, of the third place. Our first place is home. Our second place is work. And our third place is neutral. Public spaces where people can gather, interact, a coffee shop, a library, a park, a yoga studio, a volunteer group. Third place. The first step is to find a potential third place and commit to going there regularly, even just for an hour a week, even just for a half an hour a week. The goal isn't to force interaction, it's simply to be around other people. Being in a familiar place makes you more comfortable, and the comfort is the foundation for connection. It creates the possibility of those small, natural interactions to happen. I love that, right? Because it takes the pressure off. But often the hardest part is getting past the internal resistance, that voice of fear we talk about, the fear of rejection or guilt for even trying. A specific technique I recommend for pushing past that common hurdle comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a simple model. You can practice in your own mind called the ADC model. A is the activating event. Let's say you're in your third place, the coffee shop, and you see two people laughing together. B is your automatic belief or thought. For someone feeling lonely, That thought might be, they're having such an easy time connecting. I'll never have it. If I try to talk to somebody, they think I was weird. C, the consequence of that belief. You feel a wave of sadness and shame. You pull out your phone to avoid eye contact and you leave feeling more alone than before. So, the technique is to gently challenge the belief. Ask yourself, is this thought 100% true? What is a more balanced or kind way to see this? A different B could be, those two people say they have a nice friendship. That's lovely. It doesn't say anything about my own ability to connect. Or even, I feel pain of longing when I see. That's my loneliness signal telling me I want connection. And that's okay. By consciously choosing a new thought, you can change the emotional result. You might still feel a little sad, but not ashamed. And from that place, you're much more likely to stay open to what could happen next. That is such a practical and empowering tool. So once you have the basics down and you've found your third place, you're practicing challenging those negative thoughts. A more advanced strategy for deepening existing relationships involves a shift away from trying to impress people and toward being willing to share something real and personal. When we're feeling insecure and lonely, our instinct is to try to be perfect, witty, or impress people to win them over. But true connection isn't built on performance. It's built on being real. An advanced practice is to share something small and genuinely personal. This doesn't mean oversharing. It means moving from talking about the weather to sharing a small piece of your real experience. That small act of being vulnerable is an invitation. It signals trust and gives the other person permission to be real. That is how you turn a surface level relationship into a truly supportive one. That shift from the performance to being real is so important. This brings us to the final section of Evolve. Beyond the immediate benefits of feeling less lonely, the single biggest long-term benefit I've seen in people who truly master this skill of connection is the development of what research calls social resilience. It's your deep down belief in your own ability to build and keep supportive connections, no matter what life throws at you. A core confidence in your ability to connect. When you have social resilience, a friend moving away or a change in jobs is still sad, but it no longer feels like the end of the world because you know you have the tools to build a new community and strengthen other relationships. It's a major shift in your sense of safety and security in the world. Mastering connection also changes how you see yourself, your future. It rebuilds your sense of self-worth. Chronic loneliness often goes hand in hand with low self-esteem. People start to believe that isolation is their fault and they're somehow unworthy or unlovable. As you practice these skills, see the positive results. You change the story you tell yourself about who you are. You shift from seeing yourself as someone who is unwanted to someone who is capable of giving and receiving support, of creating community. You start to see a future filled with possibility and belonging, rather than one defined by being alone. It's a huge change in your identity and mindset. So as a final challenge for you, if you could do one thing differently tomorrow to bring this evolution, here is what I would recommend. Tomorrow, find one opportunity to be the person who initiates. We so often wait to be invited, to be chosen. The most powerful shift you can make is to become an active creator of connection. Send that text to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Thinking of you. Hope you're well. Give a genuine, specific compliment to a colleague. Ask the person at the grocery store how their day is going and truly listen to the answer. It's a small act that moves you from passive position to an empowered one. It is the first step in practicing the art of connection. So as we close out today's episode, just sit with what we've learned for a moment. I know this can bring up a lot, and I want to honor them. Let's hold on to these key takeaways as we move into the rest of our day. Remember, that feeling of loneliness isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that your body is telling what you need. It's a compass pointing you back toward connection. Find inspiration in the small, everyday moments. A kind word, a shared smile, they are all powerful medicine. And remember, the first step isn't always external. It can be internal, gently questioning that voice of fear and choosing a more compassionate thought. Connection is a practice, not a destination. It's a powerful part of your health plan. Just like nourishing food or mindful movement. So my invitation to you is this. Prioritize you today. Choose one small step we talked about. Maybe it's identifying potential third place in your neighborhood. Maybe it's simply practicing that one compassionate thought the next time you feel that pain of loneliness. Whatever it is, know that it is a beautiful investment in your well-being. Thank you for being here, and thank you for investing in yourself. Until next time, keep on learning, stay inspired, continue to flourish, and never stop evolving. I'm your host, Dr. C, and this is the Life Podcast.
Subscribe today to the Life Podcast with Dr. C and never miss an episode.